Oh my God. You know what? You just start talking and I'll jump in. Set it up. This is our fourth attempt trying to start this.
Mm.
Go.
Welcome back, everybody. To Shetty. It's another great podcast.
All right. So we're having some technical difficulties, but it's all good. I think this is resolved. And we're back for another exciting episode of Shoot the Shetty.
We're back.
I'm in LA, Sean's in Boston.
It's summertime, and so you know what that means? Summer movies.
I thought when you said that, I really thought the first thing that came to my mind was that song, "Summer Girls."
Summer Girls.
Or LFO, whatever the hell it was. Like Girls in the Summer.
I think that's what the song is called.
It's called Summer Girls, right?
Okay, I'm not a big LFO fan, so I don't know.
Dude. So, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So, yeah, this is the time of year when we get the big blockbuster movies coming out. We got Men in Black, International. We had, I think Godzilla came out, John Wick 3, and the most recent X-Men movie of the franchise.
Yeah, so exactly. So Sean and I were talking yesterday, and we were like, man, how can we do another Avengers podcast and milk this shit? And we were like, well, X-Men's coming out, and Sean and I both collected comic books, and we had... I've seen all the X-Men movies, and so has Sean, except for this new one coming out, Dark Phoenix, which might be already out. I don't even know.
It came out.
Did you see it?
I did not see it.
You gonna see it?
I'm not gonna see it.
Why?
Because it's a half-assed. Maybe they use their full ass, but I don't think the quality is as high as it used to be.
And that concludes the podcast on X-Men. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Hope you learned something. God bless.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, well, I think a good starting point for this is let's go back to the original X-Men franchise. The very first one.
The first one came out in the year 2000, July 14th. Another big blockbuster summer movie. And nobody was really kind of expecting it. It was just like the X-Men themselves. The movies were kind of outsiders, and no one was sure what to make of it. They had just hired hotshot director Bryan Singer to direct it, and he had just been known for like smaller, arty movies
and hitting on young boys.
And allegedly, for legal purposes.
Dude, he just settled with like 150,000. You read that in the trade?
I didn't.
Anyways, yeah. So what was that movie? Very first X.
So that started it all, and they really hit it out of the park with casting. I mean, first of all, you had Patrick Stewart as Professor X, which is just brilliant. And then a little bit unusual was Ian McKellen, Magneto, but he really brought gravitas to the role. People before these movies started getting made, I remember this magazine called Wizard Magazine, and they had their own list of people who should be in the movies. Everyone wanted Patrick Stewart to be Professor X, so everyone got that right. But I remember they were thinking Rutger Hauer for Magneto as like a fan favorite, but because he definitely looked like a comic book version of Magneto, who's very muscular actually and rugged. But Ian McKellen had just kind of had this underlying, not sinister, but just something dark going on underneath, and that's what motivates Magneto. Then they
Maybe
got
maybe they saw his appearance in Lord of the Rings. He was like,
this is before Lord of the Rings.
oh, okay. Well, maybe they read the script.
Right. No, he was classically trained actor. He's been in a lot of Shakespearean things. So that's what really shook up these movies, where they really got these people of gravitas. Um, and then they hired an unknown actor named Hugh. What's his name?
You more.
Hugh Jackman. They hired Hugh Jackman to play the iconic character of Wolverine, and you saw how popular he became, and he just elevated the status of Wolverine, even
That was
though
the
he was
worst
already.
acting choice of his career, by the way.
What are you
Did
talking
not
about?
did nothing for his career.
He did nothing, absolutely nothing.
So okay, so we got the casting right. So did you see that movie in theaters?
I was actually out of the country at the time, so I got what was called a VCD. It was a bootleg copy, and I mostly watched it uh, on a bad TV with bad audio and video.
Perfect.
But I was still amazed by it.
Um, do you know how much that movie like killed right at the box office?
It made $10.
Because I kind of feel like comic book movies, people have always wanted to get behind them. They just haven't been executed right.
Well, they were only had what Hollywood does is just they do what's already been done and just try to remake it and redo it. So what came before, you just had the Batman franchise that was going strong until they killed it themselves with Batman and Robin. So everyone thought
What do you mean
actually
they killed it? Wait, what do you mean they killed it themselves?
they committed suicide. I mean, Batman and Robin. It was the worst, one of the worst movies ever made.
Wait. Are you telling me the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger is a bad movie?
Yes, where Bane is a monosyllable idiot.
What does he say in that movie? He's like, exit,
Mm,
Bane, exit, stage left. What does he say?
Bane exit. Yeah.
That's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Personally speaking, the Schwarzenegger quotes.
Hmm.
Anyways, so yeah. Um, so are you saying that the time was right for the X-Men franchise to come in?
The timing was right, and they kind of threw out some of the rules of superhero movies that had already come out. Uh, One of the things was do not have brightly colored superhero costumes that the superheroes wore in the comic books. What the X-Men had was was kind of a leather outfit, but I guess you know,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. But I guess it was made cool, and that was the new model. It's like make a comic
Dominatrix.
book movie, but without the comic books.
Yeah, I honestly trying to remember the plot of the first X-Men. Is that the one where they were all tied up in that tower?
Right. I mean, Magneto essentially wanted to make some of the world leaders mutants themselves.
Right.
So he had created this machine. He needed Rogue to help with the energy transfer or whatever to make it work. And he was going to make everybody at Ellis Island, where they were having some celebration there, into a mutant. And that was the Professor X, Magneto's main plot. And assisting him were Sabretooth, Mystique, and the Toad.
Right. I remember seeing Toad and thinking he was a cool character. Because I remember seeing him in the comic books, like, man, this guy's kind of lame. But then I saw him they actually made him look kind of cool.
Right, right.
I thought they did a good job with all the characters actually. Even Sabretooth was kind of cool.
Yeah, Sabretooth was great. He was big and scary and growly. And Mystique, she became a fan favorite.
He wasn't house trained though, Sabretooth. Uh,
Anyway, uh, even
Mystique.
I think people like the other characters as well. Storm, Halle Berry, Storm, Famke Janssen. She did a pretty serviceable job as Jean Grey, And Cyclops was they nailed his character down pretty well.
Was Famke Janssen from Species?
No.
Oh, that's somebody else. Okay. Well, there you go. So okay, so that movie crushed it in the box office, and who was the director of that movie? Was it Bryan Singer?
Bryan Singer. He directed that one. He directed X2, uh, which was a critically acclaimed sequel as well. It was based off of sort of a graphic novel called God Loves, Man Kills. And it had to do with this crazy colonel who wanted to kill all mutants. Not kill, but control. And and then they really up the metaphor uh, for homosexuality and being a mutant in this movie, where one of the characters had to come out to his parents as being a mutant.
Oh, was that Angel?
No, this was Iceman.
Oh, Iceman. That's right. I remember hating Bobby's brother in that movie.
Right, because he called the cops on him.
What is Pyro's line in that? He's like, he has some like cheesy line right before he like blows up the cop cars. Forget it, what he says exactly. He's like, "You want to play with fire or something like that? You think we're dangerous? Something like that. Forget."
He says, "Hey cops, feel the heat."
Right. No, but even that movie. See, the thing about these X-Men movies, I've actually enjoyed them watching. I've actually enjoyed watching them. I don't know why I can't speak sentences. I enjoyed watching them from beginning to end. They were just like fun movies to me. And I think we talked about this off the off the podcast that I really enjoyed Days of Future Past. I just thought that was an awesome movie, and even with Quicksilver, that was another good movie. But then the last one with Apocalypse, when I saw that, it's like, what happened there? I mean,
so there's a lot of other things that went through that before we get to Apocalypse. So you had X2 directed by Bryan Singer. So everyone thought he would direct the next one in the trilogy, but he left to do a Superman movie, which was a huge mistake for him, huge mistake for the X-Men series. They brought in Brett Ratner for X-Men Last Stand. And you know what? I always thought it gets a lot of hate for being the worst and kind of almost killing the franchise. Yes, they got a lot of things wrong, but I just thought it was kind of cool how they had so many mutants and they had Beast in it. I thought Frazier was
that was the best.
Beast.
Are you kidding me?
Right. Introduced Kitty Pryde. Who else?
Beast should have had a brother named Niles.
Yes.
There's two Beasts. That'd be awesome.
Right.
Okay, so did you like that movie?
I thought it was okay. I mean, there's a lot of things that they messed up where story-wise, they killed off Professor X. They killed off Cyclops. This is just really weird storytelling, which I didn't get at all. And it just wasn't as satisfying as the other two. For me, it's just being able to see the characters that you read about in the comic books being put on screen. So I think in that movie, or maybe the next one, I'm not sure, where you have Colossus actually throwing Wolverine into the air to hit something, which is like what they always used to do in the comic books. So I thought that was like super cool. But anyway, everyone hated it. It kind of threw the X-Men franchise into a twirl. And what they had to do was wait. Oh my God. They had to wait 8 years to make another full X-Men movie.
Wait, stop. What did you think of Juggernaut?
Oh, that was one of the worst things.
Really? Because I thought it was cool to sing Juggernaut for the first time. I thought it was like, I know it's not like exactly like how.
Right.
I mean, the Deadpool one I thought killed it. Killed it in a good way. I thought Juggernaut was pretty cool.
Right. But no, I'm sorry. So when they rebooted the X-Men franchise, that was in 2011. So that was 5 years later. what they did was they reset the X-Men storytelling to back in the 60s, which which is what they did. Stan Lee did in the first place. So you had a young Professor X, young Magneto, the young forming of the original X-Men team, and it was set in the 60s, so it was very cool and hip and had this different vibe to it, brought to you by Matthew Vaughn. So
Wait, I got a great idea
yeah.
to continue these a train of bad jokes. Look like Muppet Babies, X-Men babies. We see them as adults, teenagers, kids.
Except they don't get mutant powers until they hit puberty.
Oh, well, thank you for crushing that idea.
Yeah, no. So yeah, X-Men First Class was a huge hit. Restarted the franchise again, and I thought it was pretty decent. Yeah, introducing the younger X-Men was a great idea, and seeing James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender really have their own interpretation and how Professor X and Magneto should be was really great, and they've been carrying the franchise since.
You say Magneto carried the franchise?
No, I'm saying McAvoy and Fassbender.
Okay. So where are we now? We're at Apocalypse now?
No, still not at Apocalypse.
This is a long history. What's the next movie?
So then you had X-Men Days of Future Past, which,
right.
Yeah, I thought super amazing. It was difficult storytelling because it involves time travel and multiple characters at different times of their lives. But
and Bryan Singer came back for that, right?
He came back for this one, yeah. I don't know if he had another ghost director helping him, but because as we know, he had a ghost director on his last few movies. But anyway, I thought this was a really great sequel in the franchise.
Is Bryan Singer a comic book guy? Like, does he like comic books?
I think he respects them. I'm not sure if he grew up with them or anything. I think what really drew him to the X-Men franchise was that metaphor of the minority being, hurt, and it's supposed to be a metaphor for a lot of things, but one of the recent things is homosexuality. So I think that's what he latched onto as one of the themes.
All right. Yeah, you know what I liked about Days of Future Past was there's people dying in that movie. There was like a level of just, I guess, just seriousness where people could actually die, even though they would be like reborn and of it. It just brought like this. I'm not saying X-Men are real people, but there was like this. It was cool. I'm a huge Terminator 2. Like anything with time travel, I just love, especially when it's executed properly. And I thought they really nailed it. And I loved how they used Bishop in that movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
With his gun, and the Sentinels were amazing. I think they adapted those Sentinels though, right? Because I'm pretty sure the Sentinels didn't have like these T2 powers where they could like transform and melt and shit. But it was cool seeing those robots on screen.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's one of the things they really got right about those movies.
Okay, so basically, just up to this point, so this franchise, for the most part, has been making a lot of money, and there have been some hits along the way, like any IP. You're gonna have some roadblocks and bumps and bruises and stuff. You're trying to figure out the voice, but it sounds to me like they had a money machine and they had fans behind the franchise. They had like a brand which they were building, and they had a strong cast behind it. I mean, it just sounds like it's been a positive movie chain for the past several years.
Well, yeah, but I think what the studio that was distributing all these X-Men movies and making them was Fox. And
Right.
what Fox didn't realize is that sometimes having different directors with different visions sometimes is better for the movies, which is the Marvel way of doing things. You know, having a different director for a different character, but somehow all connecting together. So we finally come to X-Men Apocalypse 2016, and that was
And we're here.
and we're here, and that's when finally we see a huge drop in storytelling, and it just seems like it seems like everything is tired, and nothing was really brought together, and they just didn't really hit the bullseye with Apocalypse and what he was trying to do. Is really, I don't know, they should have streamlined it, or I hate to say it, maybe even just gotten a different actor. But even though it was Oscar Isaac, who usually kills it for everything else, I thought it was a horrible interpretation.
Well, did you make that joke? You said that he looks like a bad guy from Power Rangers. Was it you who said that?
Maybe. I think everybody said that.
Hmm. Yeah, I watched that movie on the plane, and I was really excited for it, and I was like, "This movie sucks. It's not engaging at all."
Right. Yeah. So that brings us to the latest release of Dark Phoenix, and
Wait, can we go? Hold on. Wait, I just gotta be clear about this because I still don't know what Apocalypse's powers are.
in the comic books or in the movie?
Both, because in the movie he had like he had like the time stone or something like that. He could like, what the hell? It kills everybody in like an instant.
Really, I didn't even remember. I remember he
Like,
was teleporting, right?
he goes in that factory and like kills everybody. Remember that scene? Anyways.
Well, in the comic books, his main power is, I think, molecular manipulation or something like that.
Oh, so that makes sense. I mean, if you can control, it's like Molecule Man, you can just kill everyone.
Throwing a obscure reference out there to
Molecule Man. Oh, well. Secret Wars, nerd.
Yeah.
Okay, so also, you know what? You know the girl. Sorry, to harp on this. Who's that chick who play? Is it Cyclock? Is that her name?
Psylocke.
Psylocke? Who's that chick that played that part?
Olivia Munn.
Oh God, I can't stand the girls and actors. I'm sorry. It's just like when I saw her on screen, I was like, oh God, this is just not good. But well, I did like the Quicksilver character that they brought in for X-Men.
Right. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he the set pieces they did with him were really great and just made the movie a lot better. Which was funny because his character in the movies is nothing like the character in the comic books.
He's older, right?
He's older, yeah, but like he's more like dour and not very fun, and just very more serious. So the one in these X-Men movies is very the opposite of that, which is very fun loving and easygoing.
Okay. So where are we now in this?
So now we're finally at the Dark Phoenix, and it's weird. We're at a place now where they've remade a movie storyline, which they did in X-Men Last Stand. So the reason that could be is because the same person who wrote Last Stand also directed Dark Phoenix. And so I guess he thought this would be a good chance for him to redo what should have been better in his eyes. But from what I read, it just was not happening. He just had all the cards against him. He had to do multiple reshoots. You know, people weren't on board for their characters, their storylines. Spoiler alert: Mystique dies in the first 20 minutes. I hear. So she wasn't even interested in being part of the X-Men franchise anymore. And then I've heard that a lot of the story beats were actually they got beaten by Marvel movies. So they had to like reshoot and come up with other new things in order to make sure they weren't the same as the Marvel movies. So yeah, it just seems like the wrong people were handling the franchise at the wrong time, and that's but maybe that could be good for everybody now that Marvel or Disney has bought Fox, which means that they now have access to all the characters, all the X-Men characters, so they can incorporate X-Men characters into the Marvel universe.
Yeah. Well, I wonder like how many things are accurate that we read, because I also read that James Cameron threw this whole thing off because this was meant to be a winter release, and he had that new animation movie. I forget the name of that movie. So he pushed them to move the X-Men release for the summer, and they were like, the producers were like, this is not a summer movie, it's a winter movie. So because of James Cameron, it just kind of got, now it's competing against these huge movies and getting destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
it's
no,
so,
I
so
think it was a
funny.
good product. It wouldn't matter when you released it. Um, I just think that they should have gone with a different storyline, which there's so many to do based off the X-Men series. I was always hoping they went for the Genosha storyline, where there's a whole country using brainwashed mutants to kind of build their country and use them as an industry. So that would have had like the X-Men go and try to liberate these mutants and then kind of free the country. It was, again, it was a metaphor for South Africa. So I think that would have been something new and different people would have liked to see.
Maybe you should write that script.
Yes. Yes. Maybe.
Well, the positive about this is that at least it built up the Wolverine character, and so there are multiple spin-offs for Wolverine. Not saying they were all like classics, but
Well, the first Wolverine movie, everyone wants to forget. Uh,
what was the one with what was the first Wolverine movie?
that was first Origins, Wolverine Origins.
I forget the plot of that. I just remember running through that Stryker's base with like a helmet on his head and like killing everybody.
No, that was X2, actually.
Okay, I forget that what the plot was.
Right.
What's Wolverine Origins? What's that plot?
Origins. So yeah, he again tries to find Stryker, and he finds his old friends, or when they were a team together, a separate mercenary team.
Oh yes, with Sabretooth at the end in Deadpool.
And they
right?
had the guy from
Right.
from Black Eyed Peas as one of the characters.
Who is he?
He was playing somebody. I don't know.
Isn't Gambit in that movie too?
Gambit was in the movie. Yeah,
So wait, what's the movie where he fights Silver Samurai?
that's in the second Wolverine movie.
Okay, so that's Wolverine Sushi Wars or something.
Yes, Sushi Wars. No, it's called The Wolverine.
Man, these titles are hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, look, I think we can both agree. The last Wolverine movie was pretty good.
Logan. Yeah, it was super depressing, but
Did you cry?
I did. I can't believe Wolverine's gone.
I could identify with those kids. It's like me and my friends when we were in high school. It's outcast, living in the woods. No, but so you enjoyed it though, right? I mean, I think that was a fitting conclusion. And he's dead now, right? So that's that.
Yeah. No, so spoiler alert. He does that.
Spoiler alert! 3 years ago.
But I could have thought. I thought when I was watching the movie, I really thought it was going to end with him becoming the new Professor X and being able to teach all those young kids how to control their powers and stuff. But nope, he died.
Okay, first of all, that deviates from the comic book, right? I mean, the adamantium he never like had poison. That's not like, is that out of left field?
Hmm?
Is that out of left field that the adamantium was poisoning his body?
Was that
That was never in the comic book, right? Was that ever a
so? Wait,
storyline?
that was in the movie? I forget.
Yeah, like the adamantium that they put was actually poisoning his body.
Oh, maybe because he was getting older, his immunity was going down. Is that it?
Right. So, but was that in the comic book at all? Was that ever like a story plot?
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, it was always established that because of his healing factor, he was able to keep the adamantium. They tried the procedure on other people, and it always killed them.
Interesting. I don't know why I'm thinking about this like this is real life. I'm trying to think, well, he should have like done chemo or some possible other alternative holistic medicine treatments.
It could have done Reiki.
Yeah, something else. So I guess the X-Men franchise is pretty much, I mean, they're screwed. I mean, Wolverine's dead. The one guy that could actually save the franchise, he's dead. And now they left off on this other shitty movie. So what happens next? I mean, that could be it, right? I mean, X-Men could be, this movie doesn't do well. It's doing well overseas, I read.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's up to Disney now, Disney Marvel, what to do with these characters. Fox has no control. So essentially, this was the last X-Men movie. There is one other movie coming out with mutants called New Mutants, but that has had numerous delay on the schedule. That might not even come out in the theaters. We don't know yet. But
Dude,
what people are...
dude, I didn't tell you this. I think, is New Mutants directed by Daniel Espinosa?
No. Hello?
Sean?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hold on, don't hang up. Sean?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know. We just kind of broke up for a sec. Yeah, who's directing New Mutants?
Josh Boone.
Okay.
Yes, because you drove Daniel Espinosa around, right?
Yeah, because I remember I did when I worked at a company, but I remember him getting. I think he got cabled in. He got the script cable.
X-Force.
Oh, X-Force. That's right.
But they're not doing it anymore because Marvel has it. There's no more sequels.
Well, that's depressing.
Well, it's definitely going to be at least a 5-year moratorium on X-Men films. It's possible what will happen is that as the Marvel series keeps going, they might introduce these mutants as cameos, and then eventually build up to their own movie, just like as they did with the Avengers. So whatever's coming out, maybe the next Doctor Strange movie will have a mutant or Professor X or something. Well, probably not, but it'll be something along those lines.
Are we mutants, Sean?
We are all mutants.
Well, I think we covered a lot today. I think it's kind of depressing. I thought this would be more positive, but it kind of makes me depressed about this whole X-Men franchise.
It's been quite a ride.
I'll tell you, the one thing about these X-Men movies, I still go back on YouTube. That's a big thing. I go back on YouTube and I watch these clips, and it's still there's some really entertaining scenes. In fact, I just watched yesterday, without even thinking about this podcast, and it was like X-Men and Sabretooth being, it was the beginning of, I think, Logan, when they're being like executed. No, I'm sorry. It's the beginning of whatever the hell the movie is where he's with Stryker and the gang, and they...
Yeah,
X-Men. And that was a cool scene, and they all like infiltrate like this base in Nigeria or whatever, and they all like have like different skill sets, and I thought it's a fun scene to watch, with Ryan Reynolds, and just, it's just cool seeing the origins of a comic book that I used to read as a kid. I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia there, so it's still fun seeing it in small doses.
Right. It's just that you know, they weren't very true to the comic books themselves. And
I mean, the Blob. I mean, come on, dude. When are we going to see the Blob again in a movie?
yes, I think the origin of the Blob was that his girlfriend left him and he started eating.
Oh, dude, did you ever read that? It's a great Spider-Man comic book. He's wearing a black suit, and it's like him versus the Blob. And then at the end of it, like the Blob's like crying in the street. You remember that?
No.
Dude, it's one of the best Spider-Man books. Let's Google Spider-Man versus the Blob, and he like. Anyways.
Why is he crying?
I think because like no one accepted him. That's why he was like angry.
That's what I do.
No, he was like in the circus or something, and then like he just like snapped, and then Spider-Man like tries to fight him, and then at the end it's just him like crying in the street. Spider-Man's like, oh, okay, I guess this is done. And he just leaves him.
Is this something that happened to you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there you have it. X-Men. So go see it in theaters because we're not going to be there. Let us know what you think.
Why are you telling people to see a movie that we just told them is going to be horrible?
And maybe it's good. Who knows? Maybe they might enjoy it. Maybe it's not for us. Maybe they might see something. And if you see something you like and we didn't cover it, email us. Let us know. If you hate this, if you like it, we want to hear your opinions.
Not really.
You're right. Really don't. Cool. All right. Well,
right.
Anything else?
That's it.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our podcast, Shoot the Shetty. Join us again next week. And if you have any time, check out my book. I got a book online. It's called Laughing in Hell. It's on Amazon. It's about comedy and nothing to do with X-Men. So thanks so much. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. I'll see you later.